So I think we just waited for more than a time now. Let's start. So thank you, attendees. Thank you for coming to our collaborative webinar between EXCEL3D and JAJAL Medical on automated workflow for custom medical devices using nTopology. And my name is Samit Raut, and I am the co-founder and director of EXCEL3D, and I'll be the host today for the webinar. And as we all know that we have three speakers with us. They are much more experienced in their domain in the medical industry and also expertise on the softwares and
Hello, Pranit. Can you hear Sam?
Actually, I think so.
hello.
Yeah, this is right.
Sorry guys, I think I was lost, right?
Yes, yes. We can start again.
Okay, Pranit, I can't see your screen. Have you shared it again, please?
Yes, yes, I have shared it.
I'm extremely sorry, guys. My internet just disconnected, and I know that this is like a Murphy's law. When you start things, things go wrong. So again, you guys hear me now,
Yes,
Pranit?
yes, yes, sir, you're audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. I hope I'm audible to everyone. I'm really sorry for this technical glitch. Again, so what I was saying about is setting the platform right again for the webinar. We have three speakers with us, and what we are going to cover, they are going to cover on automated workflow for designing of custom medical implants, uh, custom specific scan data, and what is the importance of this scan data and how we can use it for creating medical devices, conformal device designing, and traceable design process, which is a part of that whole medical device manufacturing process. So our first, we have three speakers, as I mentioned. I'll introduce them quickly. We have Utkarsh Ankalkope, who is an experienced professional and a registered chartered engineer with Engineering Council UK. He has got 12 plus experience in research, product development activities, certification and qualifications of product from wide range from healthcare, automotive, aerospace, and space. He's also a co-founder and a CTO at EXCEL3D. And his past experience is working with MTC, which is the National Center of Additive Manufacturing UK, TWI, Materialize in the field of design, additive manufacturing, research and development in metal polymer side, and also implementation of AM in sectors such as F1, health and care, oil and gas, aerospace. So he will bring a immense experience of the designing on the software side of the medical devices. Then the second speaker is Jitendra Singh. So Mr. Jitendra Singh is the Director of Clinical Operations at Jajal Medical Service, which is from Vadodara, Gujarat. Mr. Singh holds a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from VTU, Karnataka, and he comes with his immense experience in designing patient-specific anatomical models, surgical guides, custom-made 3D printed implants, and has also been associated with Indian 3D printing healthcare industry from almost 10 years now. His expertise include working with image processing softwares, medical design softwares, and wide range of additive manufacturing technologies. So his keen interest right now is additive manufacturing with FEA simulation and virtual analysis of surgeries. And with his current role, he is involved and supports surgeons and medical device manufacturers for their complex cases, custom devices designing, and crucial research area. So that is Mr. Jitendra Singh. And the third speaker we have is Praneeth Watwe. He's a product innovator and the youngest mind at EXCEL3D. So he's on board with EXCEL3D since we started in 2019. And Praneeth holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and he has won various numerous of awards in short span. He has also, sorry, he has also participated among 81 other countries as a formula student in UK, and he has won a award there as well. And he's a national level formula racing driver under Federation of Motorsports Club of India. So these are the three speakers we have, and Utkarsh is the first person who would go and share his experiences with nTopology or the softwares which are used for designing. So off to you, Utkarsh. In the meanwhile, for the attendees, if you have any questions, it will be nice if you could just drop in a chat box and we can pick it up later. Okay, off to you, Utkarsh.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Utkarsha Uncle Ho. I am a founder, co-founder of EXCEL3D and based in UK at the moment. Without taking too much time on the company, and I will share some very brief slides on EXCEL3D. But to start with, my experience in 3D printing goes back almost 15, 16 years in the field, and last 10 years, I spend a lot of time in design based activities. Either it's lattice structure based implementation for different applications in space, aerospace, Formula One, and medical, but also on the other side, how can we automate the workflows for different applications when you want to go to productionization with additive manufacturing. And it is very important to choose the right product. So sometimes people are very excited about 3D printing and they basically want to use 3D printing everywhere. But having that oversight or insight of which products to choose for additive implementation and what benefits how can be there, or how can we exploit all the benefits we can from the 3D printing software and hardware point of view. So that's my background. I'm mostly focused on application and end-use part implementation, including certification qualification. So a few words about EXCEL3D. So EXCEL3D Base is a global company based in UK and India. So we believe in three values: innovation, in applying technologies, and passion and integrity. Our core mission is to transfer and accelerate the adoption of technologies which can add value in manufacturing, develop innovative products for clients, and also we have our own products coming out in the market in few months time. Upskill the workforce. So again, as part of this webinar is upskilling the current and future workforce to show with Jajal Medical team as well, where how can we use the technology for the real application and support the growth. So that's our mission. Why would you talk to EXCEL3D if you want to, then these are our value propositions. So innovative product development, we believe in toolless manufacturing. So we are not just catering towards prototyping anymore as an industry, as you all know. So we'll be doing our role in that. Large parts manufacturing, repair, as well as near net shop manufacturing, next generation key engineering solutions in AM, and skill development. So we have some collaborators with us. So we have Hybrid Technologies, Carbon, and nTopology, and Sigma Labs. So these are the core partners we have who are helping us to drive ourselves in the market. Our verticals are here. So as a part of today's activity, we are doing some consultation and academy today based awareness today, product development, healthcare, and EXCEL3D systems. So, and obviously one of the highlight of EXCEL3D at the moment is carbon technology available in the UK as a manufacturing line. where we are taking a lot of applications to market with industry leaders in their own sector. Again, you can see carbon is the first technology in the world who has isotropic material properties. And that means that you can have similar mechanical properties in X, Y, and Z direction. Plus, these particular materials are fully dense, so which you won't find in any other 3D printing technique. So we want to accelerate the manufacturing of innovative products with carbon. And the most important USP is a range of materials. So you can see here a big range of two-part and single-part materials which can be used according to the application need. And this much variation or options were not available in the past. So we are trying our best to educate market. And some of the surgical guides topic today, when Jiten will share his experience, can be manufactured with the carbon. So there's some success stories. So that's a very quick summary about EXCEL3D. But now I would go to our today's topic, which is about nTopology software used for medical application. So it's good to start at EXCEL3D. We always believe in starting with the problem statement. How can we basically focus on opportunity based on the problem statement and then create solution. So similarly, nTopology and my relationship goes back last maybe 13 years when they started with a software called Element to make lattice structure cells and lattice structure based implementation. So one of the innovation behind nTopology is groundbreaking algorithms, and I will explain them one by one. So what was the opportunity for nTopology going from a lattice-based software to a fully functional CAD package for a second generation products? So if you remember, we all started our engineering background or engineering, and what we know about engineering is having those typical hands-on manual lathe machines, drilling machines. We all have done that in our graduation period. We used to draft everything manually. There was very limited access to CAD software initially, even before our generation. They always drafted by hand. So it was very much hands-on on both sides, on designing products as well as manufacturing. But now in today's world, there's a big technological evolution since World War II till now, and a lot of changes happen on the shop floor as well. So today you see Industry 4.0, digital twin, knowledge-based implementation of AI. So these things have improved the shop floor environment drastically. But on the other side, so when we're manufacturing is one thing, but when we're designing products, that's where the problem is. So when we're designing products, we're still using legacy engineering software. So it can be Autodesk, Katia. So I'm not against any major prime software saying that they are not selling good software, but the problem doesn't lie in a company. The problem lies underneath where the background information about the codes, how the software works. So we know Unigraphics was the first one to start to implement this, and everybody know the B-spline modeling technology. So all the CAD packages use the B-spline technique now, and that means that we have points and lines and edges. We have to sketch everything before we extrude or revolve or sweep, loft. So, but when we do an assembly level design or part level design where complexity starts increasing, the software of today's generation starts failing. So you can see here one of the problem where the patching doesn't regenerate itself with a neighboring surface, and the whole model fails. So again, the software evaluation, you can see many companies like nTopology and other ones are working on this, and nTopology was the first one to come in the market with a solution. So what is the solution? So this solution is a computational modeling platform. It has been grown from a lattice-based engine to a much more powerful code, which can do design, simulation, manufacturing constraints-based simulation at one place. So you can see it's very reliable. First of all, it's unbreakable in terms of the code. If you try to aggressively model things and give fillets or do booleans, I have never seen it's broken during doing any complex operations. So here you can see typical topology optimization workflow here, which you can automate. So design space, first iteration, then you can get the AM file, simulate it again, make sure all the boundary conditions and load conditions comply, slice it and print it. So everything at one place. And obviously how it's different from other engineering software. So we have to think about much deeper. And here are some examples. So if you design a normal cylinder or a sphere in any CAD package, you have these parameters. So you have a point, center point, and radius, and then you have to trace this circle point by point. If you zoom into your sketch, you'll see it's not perfectly circle. You have to go down and create this kind of patching, and then you generate a sphere. That's boundary representation. So what we see on the right hand side, which is in topology, is implicit representation. So it's an equation for a boundary based object. So you can control the radius or the object very easily by moving inside and outside the boundary by implicit equation. And that's the power of nTopology, that you can model things very fast. You can control things very fast. Problem becomes more difficult when you move into multi-geometry modeling. So you have to bring two parts together or boolean them together. The equation becomes more complex, and the moment you try to give a fillet in this area or do subtraction boolean, then you'll see not every time it works fine. And many engineering or automotive industry would relate to this when they do chassis level or body level modeling, when they convert files from CAD to manufacturing. But in nTop, it's not like that. Here, it's a marriage of two equations, and you can see how beautifully it can detect the intersections and allow that area to be controlled independently to the circles inside. So it's a equation of circle A and B, and you can control these parameters very parametrically. And so it's not like you are losing that parametric nature of CAD modeling. It is still parametric, but very simple to operate. So why is unbreakable? Can you see on the screen? It's a impeller design. So what it shows is it's showing you a solid impeller, but an opportunity here you can see to create domain. So the blue part is a fluid domain where the fluid goes in and comes out. So you can do geometry modeling, domain preparation, meshing, simulation, refinement of mesh very easily, plus run the simulation inside. So you can do all the changes at one place. So I know the topic is today's medical, but I will quickly dwell on a couple of examples on structural optimization. So you can only do that here based on the manufacturing constraints. You can fine tune your load paths. But depending on your load part, you can create a variable shell. It's a dream of CAD engineers since ages and generations, where you can optimize parts according to the thickness requirements. How can we do shell optimization? And there are a lot of codes available already, but in actual means, you can validate them at the same place as you design. So again, I will not go into each and everything, but you can see this range of applications available within nTopology for automotive materials. So you can architect material, you can create very innovative digital forms. You may see some of the EXCEL3D products currently we are working on have this kind of forms, which are replacing traditional forms and giving high level performance for energy absorption, as well as reflex energy and also texturing. Is very powerful in this technology. So industrial design, some examples here, can control geometry based on a third object. You can manipulate parameters to create grills and other things. So these are the very top level example. Going towards medical industry now, so you can see in orthopedic implants, it is very important to go from doctor's data to an implant geometry which can be manufactured. And that's where we'll be focusing today. But in topology, what you see on the left-hand side here, where Praneeth will explain this in detail, but this is a tree structure we have here. So if you input the geometry and if you know there are fixed parameters for a certain implant, for example, a roughness here on the femoral stem, it can be automatically created. So it's a next level automation and reusable workflow. So we don't need to have an expert there. If some experts already set the workflow for a femoral stem, that's it. Somebody else can also input geometry and create this as a batch processing option. Again, forms for the helmet liners, a bicycle seat customization, shoe sole customization, insole customization, consumer products. So again, swabs, I don't know, in COVID period, uh, Carbon was manufacturing these swabs. A lot of even Form Labs and some other companies were manufacturing swabs where nTopology was used to optimize the geometry, where it could collect more than enough samples so that test could come conclusive. There was the biggest problem in COVID period where sample was not enough and tests were inconclusive. Again, this is a variation of what it is. Scaffolding. So in medical implants, it's important to have bone integration or osteo integration process need to be successful. For that, you can optimize the parameters very, very easily. And many examples have proven that nTopology was the closest to the requirements of the doctors. And some examples we have here. So I'll stop at this level where Jiten has more interesting part where he actually takes us to the story, and Praneeth will show you the demonstration. So any questions you have, always please type it in the chat box, and I will be able to answer in the end. So thank you for listening. So over to Sam again for the next one.
Yeah, thank you, Utkarsh. Um, so for the attendees, I think we'll be having 3 polls, out of which 1 poll we are Praneeth will be launching it now. So you guys can keep a vote until Jiten, you get ready for your presentation. So you just have to select and submit for all the attendees. Okay. Very nice. So we are having maximum of people from designing side, and there are others section as well. So okay. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So Jitu, off to you, Jiten. This was just a question to understand, what kind of public we have today for in our attendees. So 50% we can see more on designing side.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, Samit. Thank you, Utkarsh, for the beautiful presentation. So, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jitendra, and I take care of clinical operations at Jajal Medical, whereby, okay, I'm not sure. Can you see the screen?
Yeah,
Yes, we can now. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm from Jajal Medical. We are a young company started 4 years back, 3.5 years back in Baroda, whereby we kind of specializes in these customized medical devices. And also, a lot of these software platforms, and we are also application engineers of those softwares, which Utkarsh was mentioning, right from the image processing or to the design softwares, whether it's for topology optimization or for simulations or for DFAM. Right. So that is where I think we bring in our expertise. So our vision is to enable every orthopedic surgeon to avoid surprises in the surgery and help patients to improve quality of life with our personalized devices. So our values are honesty and transparency. We've got deep technical insights, and we believe, in our people as assets. So brief introduction: we are a good team size of 40 plus, spread over different application areas. Predominantly into medical field itself. When we say engineering, it's majorly the designing for these customized medical devices. We do have in-house software R&D, whereby we also kind of offer these pre-operative platform services, which we'll be looking into detail now. So a quick introduction: what do we do at Jajal Medical? We offer pre-operative support, which is via the software platform. And also the intraoperative support, which is once you have kind of pre-planned all the necessary surgical approach in the plans of the surgery, and then you want to translate the same exact plan intraoperatively. And how do we really realize that? So there has to be certain devices, maybe guides or in custom-made implants or jigs, fixtures that could help you realize the same plan. So these are the 2 areas that we predominantly cover. When we look into Yeah, so before we go into specific examples, right? I think this is the specific workflow for the patient-specific design. Whether it's a customized surgical guides or is it a anatomical model, or maybe a complete reconstruction of an anatomy with a customized or a tailor-made implant, right? So we always start with a CT scan, and then we get that scan into the segmentation software, whereby the planning happens converted with the patient specific anatomical models. Then we can understand how the custom made device, in this case what you see is a custom made implant on an oral maxillofacial area, and then kind of 3D print that specific implant into the desired technology, and then finally execute the surgery using that plan. Now, the reason why I'm also kind of emphasizing in this patient specific workflow is, when we really break down these stages into 2 or 3 crucial areas, we realize that there's quite a lot to optimize in the whole of the workflow, so as to get more effective production or more effective process flow of such customized device design and manufacturing. So, when we look at these application areas, pre-operative support, 3D visualization, and digital surgical planning, I'm going to kind of skip this. But yeah, these are something which are probably, a 3D viewer which can help surgeons who's sitting remotely to understand how the case looks like, right? So he doesn't have to necessarily have a 3D model or get only a 2D scan, but he could just open a tab and get a 3D visualization, probably even a surgical plan that he can review and just approve on the go. So these are certain areas where also the optimization can happen, right, where the CT scan acquisition and the segmentation happens before even we go into the hardware side of it or the physical devices that we use intraoperatively. So, coming to the physical hardware devices, intraoperative support, of course, 3D printed models, which are your 1:1 exact replica of the anatomy, which can help you give detailed pathology information regarding that complex case, and can really help you understand various approaches, maybe even educate the family of the patient, and discuss with your peer surgeons or fellow surgeons, right? So here are a few examples. What you see, one on the left is a femur anatomical model. On the bottom right, there's a sternal tumor, which is kind of, covering whole of the manubrium and the sternum. And then, this was reconstructed with a custom-made implant. So these kind of models really help to plan their surgical approach, and also, even to understand how do we really go about the intraoperative approach. The next part, of course, is the surgical guides. Now, these are the limited contact device which comes into contact for a transient use, probably to help make accurate osteotomies, drill specific holes, or maybe accurately place any of the implant, any of the standard medical device to help accurately place into that anatomy. So those are the surgical guides or templates, jigs, fixtures. Here you can see, there's a specific example. What we have taken is a fibula reconstruction using mandible reconstruction using a fibula. So there's a guide which has been placed to ensure that tumor excision has been, happened accurately. You've taken out the tumor. There's no residual tumor left there. And then basically harvesting the fibula on the bottom left. If you see the fibula has been harvested using a patient-specific guide, whereby all the pre-planning has been done using these customized softwares to see how the post-op approach would look like, or the post-op results would look like. And once that plan is kind of finalized and logged, then we kind of use these devices to realize the same plan intraoperatively. Now, even a step beyond, whereby surgical templates are definitely one part. In most of the complex cases where the standard solutions are not even available, or let's say those probably will not be able to improve the clinical efficacy to that level. There are also customized or tailor-made implants available. On the left, you see a few examples of cranioplasty and mandibular reconstruction, a sternum implant which has been there, and also a talus, which is an ankle implant on the bottom left. So, these kind of implants, again, are something which is used to reconstruct the patient's anatomy. And a lot of design control comes into picture here, whether, I recall from Utkarsh's slide, whether it's an optimization of the topology, whether it's the structure, microstructure changes that you would wish to incorporate to have a better osteointegration, or maybe for the better microvascularization. right from those kind of features to all the way, what kind of screw positions and other things which could be optimized using those softwares, can be incorporated into these customized implants. Now, we'll go back again to the workflow, much shorter, much simpler. I've tried dividing various stages. Most of us would probably be aware. So I'm just reiterating, right from the scan acquisition, then the segmentation, which is nothing but converting your 2D images to the 3D models. And then these models could be used into a design environment, whereby we could do the engineering on that specific anatomy, designing any sort of device, whether it's a guide or maybe a template or probably a custom made implant itself, right? And then manufacturing. So at each and every stage, when we break it down, we see there's a scope of optimization and how do we really maybe automate. Automate probably is not the word, but optimize these stages, right? So it could be automated workflows at a lot of times, or it could be as simple as something which is solving the problem for the customer. It could be something which helps the surgeon to understand maybe just the visualization part, or maybe it could be someone at a manufacturing end to understand how do we really specifically ensure the repeatability of this specific process, right? So that is what we look at these when we look at these workflow at each stages. When we look about optimizing, I've tried listed down few parameters. There could be more. For example, when we take about these scans, there are very standard set protocols for various diagnoses. Let's say a CT scan protocol for a neurovascular structure is kind of very specific and much variable when we compare the scan protocol for a knee, right? So similarly, when we try to standardize these kind of things and try to set up protocols, the workflow kind of get optimized, and the more and more we optimize, the faster, more efficient process becomes of these customized medical devices, right? Another example is integrated segmentation. Most of these scanner nowadays, from GE, Philips, or even Siemens, they've got whereby the 2D scans could give you an actual STL converted model. Previously, it was merely a volume rendered images what we could see. But now, they've incorporated this, technology 4.0, where they've got .stl files to be exported directly. Similarly, when we look about the software part, predominantly into segmentation and design areas, these are like auto segmentation, AI, ML algorithms, which can help, improve a specific anatomical segmentation faster. There are a lot of softwares already in the market which have these kind of features available based on various anatomical structures. Similarly, landmarking could be one thing. When you import a femur for a reference, and you could just put your landmarks, and automatically it gives you all the calculations of the different angles, anatomical planes and structures. So that could be something which could be incorporated into these softwares. Today, we will be focusing more into the design part, where we'll definitely see, specifically how are these parameters which could be automated, where you can have better design control, whether you would want to have a similar kind of structures incorporated multiple times. Is there an efficient way to do so by using these softwares? When it comes to actually understand the capabilities or the durability, longevity of the implant, or maybe how this implant would be manufactured. So a lot of simulation comes into play when you can do the strength test analysis, the fatigue failure analysis of the implant, maybe directly in the design. The softwares can also predict where it would actually fail, either during the printing or maybe after the implantation, or because of so reasons. So these kind of things, when we really incorporate into our flow, it becomes much more easier and much more efficient. Similarly, manufacturing, of course, you can have your control parameters of printing, your layer thicknesses and resolutions, and specific processing parameters. So with this, I think I would like to close. But yeah, if there are further questions anywhere related to any of these slides, or maybe related to the healthcare in general, please feel free to drop in your questions in the chat box, and I'll try to answer them at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Jitendra. So we have our next speaker, Praneeth, who will be taking you through the complete workflow of nTopology. But before that, another poll, please. What are the problems you face while designing medical devices? You can share your screen until then. We got 10 responses right now. 50% says automatic design workflow. So I think that's the main topic here, which Pranit is going to discuss. So Pranit, off to you. You can share your screen and start. Pranit, you're on mute.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, we can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Pranit Watve and I'm a product innovator in Excel3D and also an application engineer and topology. So today we are going to focusing on medical design in nTopology. Just a disclaimer before going forward, like I'm just an engineer, design engineer, not a specific biomedical expert. So whatever design workflow we are going to show today is just a review or we want to focus on nTopology capabilities of designing such complex medical devices and automating the workflow. Before moving forward to our workflow, specific workflow of mandibular reconstruction, I can just let me go through the GUI of nTopology. So you will be a bit familiar of how nTopology works. So this is how the home screen of nTopology looks. There are some example files and some like self-learning topics, upcoming events, and health center where you can learn the software easily. So this is the screen, home screen where we can see the horizontal tab, which we call as a ribbon. There are many features. Like normally we call them as a feature in any other software, but in topology we call them as a blocks. So we obtain them with a block system. So in this ribbon, there are the blocks are divided into different tabs, and this tabs consist of various blocks. So we have create tab like where we can create normal 3D modeling objects, 3D modeling operations. Then we have specific lattice tab where we have various types of lattice, which where we can build lattice based on uh, our input. Similarly, field-driven designs, mathematical equation like as nTopology works on implicit modeling, so you can create your own equation and you can create your own block and you can make your own geometry in it. Similarly, simulation, we have analysis tab like static analysis, model analysis, and buckling analysis, thermal analysis. Similarly, utilities like exchange, like nTopology, the vast, like it's the key point of nTopology where we can bring in STL part and take take the export in the format of any like CAD format. Similarly, manufacturing, like where we for the additive manufacturing sector, where we can slice the data here itself. There are some inbuilt slice point supports like for CSC, CLF, CLF, or specifically for additive manufacturing machines like Renishaw, EOS, ARCAM. Similarly, there's a beta version where nTopology is a developing software, so we find new blocks coming each week. Similarly, there is some tab blocks related to additive manufacturing where we have material reductions, where we can reduce the material and lower the weight of the object. Similarly, architected materials, these are kind of a lattices which we can use for texturing purposes. Then design analysis, where we can where we can get FE meshes and also do some of our analysis and topology optimizations and some lightweighting techniques of shelling, like doing shelling with lattice just in one command. And then we have one of our important, that is topology optimization, where we can optimize a part based on our input value. And after this, like we have this vertical column, which we call as a notebook. Or normally it's like a tree in any other software, but we call it as a notebook. So there are specific sections. So the blocks which you found over here, you can, once you're familiar with that, you can find it over, find the blocks over here too. With just a click, there are, it has been, we can put our trees like blocks into various sections, so it would be easier for us to identify any issues or anything, since it is in a block system. So one is not related, like for example, if you in normally in other software where you change anything, you need to change where you change any input value in any of the tree or the feature, you say, so the uh, whole process or the whole tree gets crashed. But not in the case of nTopology. nTopology shows where we need to make the changes. And like for example, like create a box. So this is a block, which we say this is a block of a cube. So every block has been given a specific color. So we can identify green color means an implicit modeling model. Then information page where we can get what input values we should put, what are the properties of this, what colors we should we need or comment for your colleagues. So if we anyone needs to make changes, you can make changes over here itself. So that was about the GUI and topology. So moving forward, we'll go towards the case study, that is the reconstruction of mandibular using fibula. So as the case study, we got a input from Jiten sir, that is a mandibular where we need to cut this off and we need to have a virtual planning and how we can add the fibula over here. So this is the geometry which we imported. This is the mesh format. So once we have the mesh format, we convert it into the nTopology compatible format, that is implicit modeling. So it helps nTopology to work it on faster pace. And once you see it has now, this can be converted into any CAD software or any other data you need, or you can directly slice it or take the data. But now we need to have a chop of this and add cutting guides on this portion itself. So once we have this, the data. So this is the block on which we need to chop this, chop our mandibular. So this is the area. So you can control it over here. Like similarly, there are center angles, or you can control it on base. You can move it around like with the gimbal, or you can move it from the points if you have some X, Y, Z points. So you can move it accordingly, however you need. So I just added my subtracting body. This is the block reference block from which I need to, by which I need to subtract this mandibular. So once I do this and have my body chopped within few seconds, so you can see I got this obtained. I got it chopped the region which I don't need. And once that region is removed, I need to add a fibula over there. Before going towards that, in this workflow itself, we'll add a cutting guide so that so that we need to export this cutting guide, and this cutting guide would help the doctors to cut the mandibular in a proper region. So we apply some block system, like what the base where we need. So we can shift it around however we need. And once that is done, we need some type of a base area. So we extract the surface from the nTopology, like we can convert it into CAD part. And in CAD part, we can select various surfaces which we need, and we can add it on the cutting guide itself. So for now, I had taken the jaw part, and this is the jaw structure. Similarly, the upward section also. So it would help to align itself on the skull itself. And once that is done, we Boolean union this whole structure, adding various blocks on it. Here we have the cutting guide and our skull. So once this is done, we can add this onto the, we can manufacture it in any additive manufacturing or other methods, and we can use this as this cutting guide for cutting the mandibular. Once this is cut, we'll move forward towards the fibula section, where we need to cut down the fibula. So we had some constraints of not using like area up from here to here 60 60 mm. So based on our input, we had some section cuts over here, similar in based on the similar way as we did the mandibular section. So this is our fibula, which this is a scan data of the fibula which we got, and from this of the mesh, and we converted it into an implicit model. Then we had its surfaces which we need, like so the surfaces to align itself when we had. So we converted it to CAD part, like CAD surfaces. And once we have that, we added the blocks through which we need to cut. And once the blocks are done, we do the necessary cuts, like where we need to have the cuts, and then we can mesh this, and we'll get, then we get a cutting guide ready. Once we have a cutting guide ready, here is a method where we directly mesh it around. So you can see how fine mesh we can get on any type of a body structure, and we just need to export in any format we need, or you can export this cutting guide in format in you can see in CAD format too. So once this is done, we move forward to the generation of the bone plate. So after we have so this is the first skull portion. So once we have it, the cutted section, we got the cutted section over here, and we Boolean united it. So once we have, now we need to add a bone plate generator over it. So it's very simple to add. So we created some points. Like in nTopology, we need to give some points. So as you can see, have given small dotted points on this, if you can see now. Yeah. So these are the points which these are the so these are the points which will be the holes for or the guides on which the mandible will be fixed. Once we have this, so this is the bone plate generator. We give some demands, and once we have this, we create a bone plate with the holes. And talking about the automation of this. So once we have a bone plate generator based on, we give some specific output in nTopology, which we call as the variables of the inputs. So these are the point list, like you can. So these are the points which I gave, like these are the 10 points, or we can say the 10 holes where we need to screw. We can use any of this, but for now we use it for construction of it. After that, once we have this hole generated and our bone plate generated, we can do the automation of this. So similarly, we can have our whole locations at various points, like location A. Currently, it is set at location A, B, C. Then the whole radius, we can change the whole radius to 2 mm, for example. So it will, so you can see it automated it itself and generated the whole size. Then the blend radius, so we can change the blend radius to like 2 mm or whichever mm. So it makes easier for us. So once we set up a whole workflow, we can just bring in the constructed body over the anatomical geometry over here, and we can create a bone plate generator. Similar, I have some examples where you can use the same thing. Like for example, this is a bone plate for a normal example where I will be showing you examples of where we can generate various in a single workflow, we can generate automated plates on different structures. So as you can see, this is the bone, and there are some section cuts. So to give that, like it's a cutted bone, or we have cutted over there. So similar, there is a location of a over here where we need to generate a bone plate. So based on the points, as you can see, the pink points, we have generated a bone plate around it. Similarly, if I change the location to B, so it will shift to here, the point shifted to here, and all this in a single workflow. And based on that, we will have bone plate generation, the files to be added to the AM for the additive manufacture, also with ready with the slices and with also with the guides, as you can see. So this is how we can automate a function. Just whenever if you need to change the body, so you need to come over here, change the fractured bone with your fractured bone for fractured bone, and the result will be automated. You don't need to do anything except some input values like the screw hole location or the hole radius. And if there's like other type of a geometry or skull, you need to do some little bit of preparation. So this is how an automated EM build preparation also happens. So this was a kind of a bone plate generation. nTopology works on osteo integration also, where we had a previous example in nTopology where we had a special webinar on creating acetabular cup. So creating acetabular cup and creating this type of a lattice which is validated by many of the doctors too. So this is also a simple part. I will just show you. So it's just simple where we import part, like normally I constructed this structure, like this is the lattice part on which I need to have lattice. This is the non-lattice part on which I don't need to have a lattice. Okay. So I just segregated my body and I converted everything into a lattice, implicit modeling structure, which is available for nTopology. And once we had that, we gave some instructions of Voronoi volume lattice. Currently, we are applying a Voronoi volume lattice. Based on our demand, we are trimming it according to our basis, like it got trimmed. So there are trimming options where we can trim the lattice based on inputs. Like if we need to have the lattice beyond our body, we can have the lattice beyond our body too. Once we have this lattice, we thicken the lattice the structure. Once all the whole things is done, we just Boolean union everything and we export the format, like we export the mesh and do, like for example, this is a very high density lattice structure or high complex lattice structure where you can accept the size of this lattice going beyond like 1 GB, but in nTopology you have a whole control over it to how you can do it. Like for example, there is simplify mesh option where you can control the amount by 0.8%. Like it will reduce, like if it's 1 GB, it will reduce to 200 MB. So without hampering or without doing any changes with respect to your geometry, it just reduces the triangle sizes, and that's only possible in nTopology to get control over the size of the size of the exported HTL. So this exported HTL, like if we reduce the extra exported HTL, which will be useful in any other manufacturing techniques also. So that was all about the medical sector in nTopology. Before we have some questions, we can launch
So
our
we-
next.
So we,
Yes, sir.
Pranit, there is one question that related to your topic by Darpan. He says, possible to have variable thickness in the plate.
Yes, we can have a variable thickness on the plate.
So it is just adding on another block for creating the
block.
variable thickness on it.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's another question here. I think Utkarsh had answered it, but I'll just ask this. To what extent is the surface accuracy maintained when converting from STL to implicit modeling format? So Utkarsh has answered. Utkarsh, do you want to take this up? Any idea?
So from STL to implicit, it detects as a body, so accuracy is a very open term here to discuss. But when you see Pranit imports file from CAD or from STL, nTopology converts that from mesh to implicit in the background. So again, it creates an equation for that particular thing. So it's very, very controlled. When you export the file again as an STL file, you can compare that. If you really want to do an exercise, you can verify that. But accuracy is similar to what we have in CAD, like 0.01. We have a parameter, or we have resolution features in SolidWorks and other software. In implicit, it's an equation. So I can't answer it exactly, but I don't think accuracy is affected when you are moving one to another, because you can refine the mesh. So you go from STL to implicit, do your work, then convert into mesh again to do simulation, validate the product, and then export as a mesh as an STL file. So you have a control over your accuracy. That's a benefit in nTopology.
There's one more question of. So this bone plate generator is a kind of plugin that runs on top of nTopology. No, this like it's a workflow which is an example workflow which has been given by nTopology. So you can use that. So it's not a type of a plugin, but you can generate your own workflow. Like similarly, I have generated a bone plate generator for the mandible. So you can generate your own workflow.
And that's the advantage of nTopology,
Yeah.
where you can pass on these workflows to each other, unless it's internally in the company. But if it's not confidential, you can also work with your clients by sending, if they have nTopology software, you can hand over the workflow, and just change of geometry would keep the same workflow and get the product out of that workflow very quickly.
Right. And also nTopology does not have modules. It is just a complete nTopology software. Okay, and another question here, is there bone plate generator and these workflows available on nTopology Element software?
I think Element is no longer available.
It's not, yeah.
Yeah, I think unless you have direct contact with Brad and he's given you a copy, but I don't think Element is available as a software anymore.
It's just then.
Unless some old people,
software,
unless some old people have, I had a copy of it in the past, but the current code in nTopology and an Element is different.
Okay.
Can I launch
Okay,
the
so
next,
yeah,
poll?
you can launch a poll. Yeah, you can launch the last poll. We can see
It's
like
almost-
material options. Yeah, is for the most. And regulatory compliances.
It's interesting actually, regulatory compliance is connected to materials first and then geometry. So it is very interesting to see that regulatory compliance is important. But if you have fully isotropic material, food biocompatible materials, I don't think that will be a big constraint. But yeah, it's interesting to see three major areas here, which are quite connected to each other.
Most of them have uncertain material options. I think so.
Yeah, if you have a certified material, you have certified process, and the compliance is quite straightforward. And very few companies, like I said, we have in carbon, we have a lot of biocompatible materials and gone through the certification already. By experience, we know this.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, I think we are just on time when we started 1 hour. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll keep you posted with the upcoming webinars. Thank you, Jitendra, for your time as well.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
And any information you need to connect with us, any one of you, please do write us an email and we'll take it further from there. Great. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Jitin. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.